Hello, everyone. I am Matthew Thomas. This is Super Cool Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in for another great interview. Before I start talking about my guests, just a quick reminder to thumbs up this video if you enjoy it, and make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell. That way you do not miss any super cool content or interviews. My guest for this interview will be a really awesome hard rock band based out of Nashville, Tennessee. I had the opportunity to interview them about a year ago, and I'm very excited to have them back on the show. They are Abby K. Very recently, they released an awesome new single entitled Better Off. The single really rocks, and I'm a huge fan of Better Off. In this interview, we're going to chat about the new single, Better Off, the Nashville music scene, favorite songs to perform live, and so much more. So let's dive into this interview. Let's go.
Super Cool Radio.
Before we jump into the show, I want to tell you about our merch store on Threadless. Shop a wide variety of logos with multiple colors and sizes available for each design. Your support is greatly appreciated and helps us continue to make killer content like this episode. Please visit supercoolradio.threadless.com or the link in the description to shop now. I got some really great guests with me at this time, making their second appearance here on Super Cool Radio. They released an awesome new single entitled Better Off on February 24th. Please welcome Abby K.
Woo! Thank you for having us.
Of course, very nice to have you guys back on. I think it was about a year, I believe, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think it was, when did 99 come out?
Yeah, about the same time last year. So like late February.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh, good. Before we get too far, making up Abby K. Joining me at this time, we have Abby on bass and vocals and Diego on guitar.
Yes.
So before we get to talking about the new single and everything else that I have planned, I'm going to start off with this fun, slightly challenging question to kick everything off. What has been the best concert you've been to and the best concert you have performed at?
The best concert I've been to was actually more recent. I went to, it was Lilith Czar opening for The Warning, opening for The Pretty Reckless, opening for Hailstorm. I cried a lot. And it was just like, it was really amazing to see not only four of my favorite bands, but four female bands up there rocking. Like, it was really inspiring to come back home and work harder. That was definitely my favorite concert that I've ever been to. And then the favorite that I've played is probably opening for Dorothy this past summer in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was really awesome. It was a really great venue, great staff. We had an absolute blast there.
Very nice. Both really great shows. The lineup for the concert you said sounds amazing. I recently discovered The Warning like last week, so I've been really jamming out to them this week.
Yeah.
Diego, how about for you?
Ooh, it's a tie between. I recently saw Ice Nine Kills a couple months back. They're one of my favorite bands, and I love anything horror and spooky. So like that was just a fun audience to be in. That, or I saw this back when I lived in California. I saw this local band called the Maxis. They're like this ska punk band, but they all wear masks and they all have this gimmick. And their mascot was this guy in a polar bear outfit who was obviously intoxicated. So he was like running on the stage. He tripped and fell into the audience, kicking someone in the face, and he would mosh in the audience. So that was just like a really memorable show for me. And best show we played, I have to agree with Abby. It was the Dorothy show. That was just a lot of fun. Great stage, fantastic audience. It was just a good time.
Right on. It sounds like some really great shows. I saw Ice Nine probably 3 years ago, something like that. I think 2. And I've obviously for knowing their music, but then seeing their stage show, they're amazing. They kill it every time, pun intended. See, master my craft sometimes, depending on the day of the week. But but no, they're really awesome. And also, I mean, if there's an intoxicated person in a polar bear outfit, that sounds. I mean, you can't top that. It sounds amazing.
Oh, that was fun.
And so before we start talking about the single "Better Off," you guys are based out of Nashville, Tennessee. What is the music scene like in Nashville?
Ooh, okay. So I think there's a lot of different aspects. One that I'm really into, this is kind of like my day job here. I play on Broadway 4 nights a week. It's 4-hour cover gigs. It's all requests, all tips. It is a wild, wild scene. It's very interesting. I have lots of stories, some that I keep to myself, some that I love to share. So I play Broadway a lot. That's kind of like, it doesn't necessarily help the artist gig as Abby K, but it's still paying my bills playing music. And then of course you have the writers round and more of the songwriting aspect. But then also I think the metal scene in Nashville is growing a lot more in the past couple years. You know, it started out as mainly country music, and we still get all the time, yeah, we're a rock metal band in Nashville. Nashville, that's country music. Well, it's really not anymore. It's really starting to get more diverse. So that's kind of what I think it's like. There's a lot of different paths that you can take here in Nashville. So just trying to kind of have your foot in a little bit of everything.
Oh, definitely, for sure. I know I've talked to a few bands from Nashville, and that's what they also say. It's becoming very, very diverse. There's always shows going on. There's a lot to do in Nashville. So what is some story that you can share on this podcast?
Oh man, okay. All right, we'll just go full on crazy. Okay, so okay. I have a lot of. This is so gross. I'm so sorry. I have a lot of feet stories. Diego's already mad at me for telling this. Okay, so one of them is I was playing a 9-hour shift, and if you know me, I'm a full-on rocker. I wear my leather boots, like I'm rocking it out. And so, like 8 hours into my 9-hour gig, I was like, I cannot wear these shoes anymore. So I took off my shoes, and I was still doing my job. I was playing the show. Well, this old woman came up to the stage, and she started rubbing my feet while I was playing. And I was like, oh, okay. No, thank you. And she was like, oh, come on. I'll just give you a little foot massage here. I was like, I don't really know what to do about this. And believe it or not, that is not the only foot story that I have on Broadway. I don't know why that happened, but it gets a lot worse. So, yeah.
All right. I'm going to keep that in mind if I ever go to Nashville. There's a lot of feet stuff that goes on.
Nashville, Feet City.
Yeah, I come home every night. I'm like, Diego, guess what happened today? I think also being like a young girl on Broadway. Broadway is like probably 95% men. So all of us kind of stick together and we share our stories. It's just like, well, what happened to you today? It's a good time.
95% intoxicated men.
That's true. Have you seen any wear a polar bear mascot?
Unfortunately, no, not yet.
Okay, well, there's always
I'll
something
keep you updated though. It'll happen sooner or later.
Definitely. So Diego, how about your perspective on Nashville? Do you have any feet stories?
Crazy. Believe it or not, I don't have any feet stories.
Wow.
But honestly, I feel like Abby kind of hit it on the head. A lot of people assume that Nashville is just country music, but it is straight up music city. There's so much going on underneath the surface, because on the surface, yeah, you've got all like the pop country and all the big, it's like, the Grand Ole Opry, Dolly Parton, whatever, all this history. But there's so much going on underneath. That's not even just the creative aspect, but like the industry aspect as well. Like there's a store here I love called, or not even so much a store, it's called Tour Supply. It's kind of like the hidden gem of like the touring industry. And there's just so much going on that people don't really acknowledge. And so I think if you want to make it in music, this is definitely a great place. You just got to put in the work.
Oh, definitely. For sure. A lot of opportunity there in Nashville, Tennessee. And hope we'll see if you guys when you guys come back on, we'll have any more crazy stories to say.
I'm sure we will.
So obviously getting down a little bit more business, beat stories aside. Obviously, so the new single "Better Off" will be available February 24th. So for you guys, what can people expect musically and lyrically from the new single?
If you've listened to our stuff before, throw that out the window. It's nothing like that. I started writing and releasing music at 16, and I think then I was kind of trying to fit the young girl pop star kind of like image that I give off sometimes. And now I think I've just grown into not really caring what other people want to hear from me and just doing what I know that I was made to do. So it's much heavier than it has been before. And this is the first single from the album that we're going to release soon. And this is kind of bridging everyone into getting ready for what's to come. If you think this is heavier than what we've done before, the album is going to be even heavier than Better Off.
Right, I'm definitely looking forward to listening to the new album. But I really enjoy Better Off. It's definitely the hardest rocking song you guys have put out, and I really like 99 degrees Celsius. Jeez, 99 degrees Celsius. But also, I really enjoy Better Off just a little bit more, just because I think it rocks a little bit harder than 99 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think the production value has really increased. Just over time, we've gotten better in the studio. We've learned a lot along the way, but also we recorded this one with a really awesome production team here in Nashville with Troy Laquetta from Tesla, Jeff Kersey, and Brian Gamboa. So we love those three guys. They're amazing, but they really helped bring this song to life for us.
Oh yeah, definitely listen to it. I can definitely tell, just compared to 99 degrees Celsius, that the production, you stepped up production, you stepped up the hard rockness of it, and you had a really great team that you guys are working with to produce Better Off.
Yeah. I think it's not only just like unlike anything that we've done before, but I think it's kind of taking us in the direction that we've wanted to go and just really not known how to get there or what to do to be able to make it happen. So it's really exciting for us.
Oh, definitely. It really sounds like you guys are really evolving your sound. Obviously, I've listened to like the first stuff you kind of put out, but this stuff I very much enjoy. It's really awesome. So I definitely look forward to seeing how you guys evolve into that style.
Yeah, thank you.
So Diego, how about for you? How was it recording Better Off?
It was definitely a whole different experience. Well, I got caught off guard. One thing I really liked that was fun was originally that song was tuned higher. When we were in the studio, we're like, it feels much more natural if we tune it lower. So it was kind of fun to just like, go to like drop B and go to like the real like heavy metal tuning. And yeah, because like that was definitely how long did we write that one?
So I think I brought you the song in 2019.
2019?
No, that's not right.
If anything, it would have been like tail of
20
2020 into 2021, maybe.
I have my years wrong. It was 2021.
Yeah.
It was like January of 2021.
Yeah.
I sent you the song and I was like, hey, you wanna work on this?
So it was still a song that was kind of worked on when I still lived in California. She still lived in North Carolina. So it was written by email. So it's like, before we went to the studio, we had a very different vision for it. But then once we went in, because it was tuned up higher. It was a more, I guess, traditional vibe. But then once we were in the studio, it all changed. We tuned it lower, went a whole different route with it. There's that whole section before the guitar solo with all those weird sound effects. I had no idea that was happening, but we're like, what if we just did it? And we did it, and it sounded awesome. So we just did it. That was a fun one. A lot of experimentation went into that in the studio. Like the solo, like I usually like to like write out my solos, but that one was just like, okay, let's get in the studio. Since the format changed so much, this idea I had didn't really work anymore. So I was like, okay, we'll just figure something out, and I did. So I think it was cool, but also it came out much more raw, where it's like it wasn't perfect, it wasn't finessed, it was just hit record and play. And I think that kind of adds some attitude to the track.
Oh, definitely. The song's got a lot of attitude to it. I mean that in the nicest way, in the best way, because yes, it has that rawness to it. It really rocks your face off. So I say that in the nicest way because it's just everything throughout. Just it holds your attention, and I had it on repeat like the last few days up to this interview.
Well, that's always a good sign. If you're listening to it more than once, if you want to go back and listen to it a second time, that means we did our job, I guess.
Yes, definitely. So, for the production team, you said you guys worked with like, did they have like input into like the song? Like, do you say, hey, maybe you should try this, or maybe just change this a little bit? Like, did they have input for that?
Definitely, and I think that's kind of where we were lacking before this, because we would always record this by ourselves, and no offense to us, but we don't know what we're doing. We're young and we've never done this before, so we're not gonna have the best ideas. And then you go to someone like Troy, who's been doing this for 50 years and has a lot more knowledge than us, and he's like, hey, I like that idea, but why don't you try this? And we're like, we would have never thought of that. And I think that's really what made it different than before, is having that input from 3 industry professionals that do this for a living and have done it for a long time.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's they have a wealth of experience and knowledge, and it just helps to get sometimes from people that experience to kind of get a little bit different perspective on it. That way to make the song better.
Yeah, I agree.
So I definitely highly encourage everyone listening or watching. I will leave some links for the Better Off and Abby K links in the description of this podcast as well. I got one more thing I wanted to cover for the music aspect, then we'll move on to the live show aspect. So I haven't asked this question in a while. I started the season off, but I try to circulate for my questions. So for you guys, if you recorded what you consider to be the most perfect single, but it was never released, would you be content knowing you recorded it, or do you want it released?
I would want it released, I think. What about you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because the part of me is like, well, you put the effort in, you want to release it, but also like, is the intrinsic value of the art the fact that it was made in the first place? No, we probably put money into it. Put it out.
Yeah.
We funded it. Put it out.
Yeah, if you're gonna like spend the money to go to the studio and record something that's like absolutely amazing, get it out there. Because what's the point? Like, I mean, I see the point. Okay, Diego's about to yell at me
I'm
because
not gonna yell.
he's a very like sentimental person, that it's the art and it's creative and it's good for your soul. But like at the same time, I know the song. I know what it sounds like. I want other people to sound or hear what it sounds like, especially if it's perfect, amazing. If that's the thing that's going to get us to the top. I'm a very business person. Diego is a very
artsy.
I don't want to say emotional, but he feels things more. So I'll say something and he's like, whoa, it's about the music. And I'm like,
It's about the music, man.
I'm like,
We
but
can't
how?
let this corporate greed affect us.
Yeah.
No, I got you. There's no real right answer. That's really like how you feel on that. I always ask. I know again that's a little bit of a challenging question, but I think it's just really cool just to hear like musicians' different perspectives on that. But from what a lot of them said, if you're gonna spend time recording in a studio, it costs a lot of money. So you should just put it out because you put a lot of money into it. But I do see the other point of if it means something to you. Then that's how then it doesn't necessarily have to get released.
That's the value in itself.
Exactly. So I'm just curious about you guys. I haven't asked that question in a while, so I was just curious what you guys think. Moving on now to the live show aspect, I did want to talk about that because I know you guys have been playing a ton of shows last year, 2022, and I know you got some more shows lined up. I know you got some shows with my friends Wild Street as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for you guys, do you have a favorite song to perform live?
Oh man, I have a least favorite song, but honestly, I would say 99 Degrees Celsius, because like in the live version of that, I get my little bass solo, my little moment to shine. And then it goes into like a hard and heavy breakdown, and that's always really fun. Yeah, I would say 99.
I would say tentatively, currently, it is 99. I think once the single and some of the album comes out, it's definitely going to change. But as of right now, it's 99 degrees.
He also has a least favorite song. It's the same as mine, but we'll keep that to ourselves.
Sounds good. I did not ask for that, but I completely understand. All right, so as I mentioned, you guys got some shows with Wild Street coming up. Have you performed with Wild Street before?
Technically, no. We've performed with Eric Jake before on New Year's Eve, actually. We did a show with him here in Nashville. But we've started working with their booking agency, Beyond, and so we're doing a whole tour together in April.
All right, right on. I hopefully if you're coming to my area, I definitely want to see you guys live. So how did you meet Eric and Jen?
I guess just kind of ran into each other on Twitter maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. We've just been following each other for a long time. And then I think I reached out to Eric like maybe 2 years ago now. So like after three years of following each other, I was like, hey, we should do a show together. He was like, yeah, talk to this person. And it just never really lined up until Eric was coming through Nashville, and he DM'd me on Instagram and was like, hey, I'm going to be here for a long time. Let's write. Let's play a show. And we did have a co-write. We wrote 2 really good songs, and then we played a show the next day together. So that's kind of when we made the in-person connection.
Oh no, right on. I've interviewed Eric Jake, and I've seen seen them live a few times as well. Always really cool, real cool guy to chat with as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So last thing about the live show I wanted to cover, and then I got a few more before we wrap up. Obviously, as I said, you guys toured very extensively last year. But like throughout your music career, what are like some of the coolest or most unique venues you've performed at?
Oh,
Amplified.
yeah, Amplified Live in Dallas, Texas. That was a really cool venue.
It was outdoor. It used to be called Gas Monkey, so I know a lot of people were like, hey, Gas Monkey.
Yeah, but it was an outdoor venue. It was freezing.
Oh, yeah.
We about died, but it was a really cool venue. And they had a restaurant inside, and they had delicious ground beef nachos. Just saying.
And you know what? I have a weird story there. Some woman like was drunk and was like, oh my gosh, can I touch your hair? And she just started touching my hair. It's like, you have great hair. And it's like, you can't just do that.
Well, that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like, I was gonna say that.
I would say though, my favorite venue that we've played is every year for the past couple of years we've been playing at the Orange County Fair up in Middletown, New York, and last year we actually headlined. And not even the stage. The stage is great. It's probably the biggest stage that we play, but the backstage area. I did a whole tour of it on my YouTube channel. Go check it out. It has like the foosball tables. It has an Xbox. They give us like all kinds of like food and drink and showers. It's like the biggest backstage that we've ever gotten. So that's one of my favorites to go to. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you're bigger than you are.
Oh, that sounds really awesome. I know. I will put the link for the YouTube video in the description as well for people to check out. But no, it's so cool, and like there's like an actual like backstage show with amenities and stuff like that. I know I covered a show at the Hi-Fi back in October in Indianapolis, and they had like a foosball table, they had a pool table, they had Pac-Man machine, like arcade machine, and they had like a cinema room, like a big screen and those comfy leather chairs. So I was very impressed with that. So that was really cool. I really like that. But yeah, it's always cool when they have actual like nice stuff for the musicians being in backstage. So that sounds really awesome. I honestly, for all the shows I cover, I rarely run into something like that.
Yeah, no, especially at the like lower level of touring. I mean, it's exhausting because we don't have anyone working for us. We don't have anyone setting up our stuff or driving. Like, it's all us. and then we get to the venue, and it's like there's a couch that you don't want to touch. So, but sometimes you run into some really good venues, and that's always well appreciated at this level when you're always tired because you're always the one working. So.
Oh, for sure. No, it's a lot just to like I only go to like a few shows a month, and like even that it's still a little bit difficult. But for like a band who's extensively touring like you guys, it's got to be a little bit strenuous at times, or a little bit tiring at times to just get to the venue or to tour in general. Now, last question before we start talking about the future plans. So you guys have opened for Nita Strauss, Dorothy, as you guys said. Who are some bands you want to perform with that you have not yet?
Long term, Hailstorm. I think we would be a really good opener for Hailstorm. I think both of our audiences are kind of similar. I think that would be, business mind speaking, that would be a really good decision for us to do. And then just like personally, like obviously dream big, Iron Maiden, that's my all-time favorite band. Of course I would say that. And then more realistic for the next couple years, I think we would love to tour with Diamante and also Dorothy. Again, someone like, I really like pairing myself with like the females in modern hard rock. I think our shows go really well together. Diego probably has some other ideas that are not just females, but that's just the way that I think. But some like, I don't want to say like less successful, but like lower level, obviously higher than us, but someone like Diamante as opposed to Hailstorm might be more realistic for the next couple of years.
Right on. Very, very great bands. I'd love to see you guys perform with Iron Maiden. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. So let's make it happen.
Yeah, who's ever watching or listening, if someone can make that possible, we'd be much appreciated. Diego, how about for you?
I'm like, I pretty much hit the nail on the head. I think, no, that was pretty much it. That was all good.
Do you not have any ideas for non-female fronted bands?
Cattle Decapitation,
No.
Sepultura.
No.
Cannibal Corpse?
No. Veto. Great bands. I don't think that would be worth our
No, we would not fit the demographic.
No.
Soulfly, which is a great show, but also like 200 Stab Wounds was also playing, and it's like we were very much out of the demographic.
Great show, great opportunity, but we walked away without gaining anything.
Yeah.
Except for a great night.
Yeah. I'm now a big fan of 200 Stab Wounds, so that's good. Honestly, no. Like I agree with you 110%. Like we're with Hailstorm long term, Diamante coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are killer. Like, but even though we already play with them, Nita Strauss, we would gladly tour with them anytime.
Yeah.
Drop anything we're doing.
If Nita called me today and said, "Hey, I have these," before she would even finish what she's saying, I would quit everything, and I would call Diego and say, "Hey, quit your job."
I'd be like, what's happening? Context.
Nope, no context needed. Just quit your job. Let's go.
Quit your job. We're going.
Well, I do hope some of bands, you guys have the opportunity to perform with them. All really great bands you listed, even some other bands that you listed. I like how you said Cattle Decapitation first, because the DJ for another show on Super Cool Radio just played them on his show. So I was like, oh, that's very very fitting. Last thing before we go, what are the future plans for ABK for the rest of 2023?
So we are announcing a couple tours this year. We're not going to be touring quite as much as last year. We're going to really work on new music, getting that out there. We are touring. All of March and April, we're going to be gone. Pretty much, like the entirety of those 2 months. So we're going to hit it big early on this year in the spring. And then over the summer, I think we're going to work a lot on the online stuff and getting new music out there consistently, because that's something that the past few years we've been touring so much that it's hard to find time to not only like record and release, but also just write in general and get new material. So definitely going to focus on that this year, and then hopefully in the fall we'll pick back up with touring. Probably a lot of touring in the fall. So I can't say we're not going to tour at all this year because March and April are jam packed, and then hopefully this fall will be packed. So.
Right on. I hope you have a great rest of the year. You guys are already starting out really well with the new single "Better Off." So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the rest of 2023 goes for you guys.
Yeah.
So as always, great time hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by Super Cool Radio again. Maybe we'll have to do it again next February because it seems to be when we do it. I really appreciate hanging out with you guys. All links for all things Abby K will be available in the description. New single "Better Off" available February 24th as well. And well, that's all I got. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hope you have a great rest of 2023. For Abby K of Abby and Diego, I'm your host as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.